Mr. James, can you say hello?
Hello.
What do you have?
Right here.
Oh, you got some new toys?
Yep.
Oh, show them. Show them. Show them.
And
Yeah?
the side.
Yeah? You know they can't see them. Oh, okay. James got some new toys because you know why not. Did we have a nice day yesterday?
Yes.
Now this is flying. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. James is about to go outside. Doesn't he look so cute in his Henley shirt?
I'm not happy.
You're not happy? Why?
I want to leave.
Oh no, you're gonna go out into Central Park.
Put this mic on. Do it.
Can you show everyone your happy face? Happy face. Alright, go get your brother. Go see if Thomas is available to say hi to me. Thomas is in the cutest overalls. Louis Philippe said he turned $100 into $4,000 yesterday. Good job. Congrats on the work. First time in over a month since you've been off for work. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Ah.
I want to see.
You say hello? You say hello? Look, why are all your toys up there? Are you wondering that?
Why we can't see anything?
James, stop.
Why I can't see anything?
Oh, are you going to go to Central Park? You're going to
Why
go
I
play?
can't see anything?
Can you show them your ball?
No.
Show them your ball.
Why I can't see anything?
Ball.
I can't see anything.
Well, because the thing's in the way. It's okay. Don't worry, friend.
Are they?
Do you like Buzz Lightyear or Woody or Emperor Zurg best?
Are they?
You love all of them? Which one do you like best? Thomas likes Woody, and his hat keeps falling off, and he walks over and says, "Hat." I have to put his hat on about 100 times so far. I'm a professional at putting on Woody's hat now. Yeah? What advice is that?
What size are they?
Shot. Okay. All right. You go outside with Dama. Can you say bye-bye?
You can't see. You can't.
Okay. Go with Dama. Can you say bye-bye?
How about miss you?
Miss you. Here you go. Take this. Thank you. Have fun. Bye-bye. Okay. That's out of the way. Today, we're going to talk about something a lot of parents have to deal with. And a lot of non-parents, too. Really, everyone has to deal with this if poker is not their profession. And even then, some people whose poker is their profession has to deal with this. Today, we're going to talk about getting back to poker after you take a break. And now, I understand people take a break for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes people take a break because they go broke. Sometimes people take a break because they had something else in life go on. For many people, they have kids, and it turns out they don't have quite as many free nights and weekends as they used to. So, I understand people take breaks for all sorts of reasons. And today we're going to talk about, well, what Natty Witt says here is how do we knock the rust off? And I think this is a very interesting question because it heavily depends on where you were when you stopped playing poker, right? Like, if you are already a pretty strong world-class player, I don't really think you need to do a whole lot to get back into it because you were already pretty great. People ask me this all the time, like, if I'm going to go get back into playing live poker, am I nervous? Am I excited? It's like, no, I'm just getting back I'm just doing the same thing, you know? And, like, I don't feel like I, personally, Jonathan Little, I realize I'm not in the scenario most people are in, does not have to do a whole lot of, like, catch-up to get back decent. However, I realize that's not the case for almost everyone, right? So first off, you want to ask, what level are you at? Are you a novice, or are you already, like, actually pretty decent at poker? If you're pretty decent at poker, like Louis Philippe here, you know, every time I log on, he's winning thousands of dollars. Louis Philippe is probably going to be closer to the situation I'm in, where he can just, you know, take a month off, start playing again, and be fine, than someone who, you know, plays maybe once every 2 weeks in a local home game for small stakes, right? If you happen to take, like, a year off, then you're going to feel pretty out of it, right? And you want to make sure you are aware of your actual skill level first, which, you know, already does take some self-awareness. As you get better and better at most things, you'll be able to become more and more self-aware. But if you're a novice, very simply, I would tell you to go back and go through the fundamentals course I have. It's right up here. Go to pokercoaching.com/fundamentals and go through that. It's a completely free course. It's about 2 hours long. It's not too in-depth or anything, but it'll make sure you are thinking about the things that matter while you are playing poker. And that's something that I would definitely recommend you do. But, I mean, I understand, though, that if you're going to go play poker, like, you haven't played poker in a year, and you're going to go play a, $1 buy-in home game with your friends, you probably don't want to spend 2 hours studying poker, right? So if that's the case, realize you're going to play purely for fun, so go there, play for fun, and enjoy yourself. And don't worry about it, right? But if you actually are going to try to play seriously, and you are pretty novice, you need to go through the fundamentals and make sure that you understand the basics, right? Okay. Mark says this is exactly what you're dealing with because of COVID. Yeah, Matt Affleck's videos on poker coaching have been amazing. Good. Glad to hear that. You got your coffee and you're ready for the stream. And you're playing a PKO tournament. Good job. Good work. All right. So if you're a total novice, watch pokercoaching.com/fundamentals. And if you have any novice friends who you want to get into poker and you want them to not be completely lost, have them watch pokercoaching.com/fundamentals. If you're already pretty decent, though, and you're like a pretty good poker player, but you worry you may not be thinking about the things that specifically matter, now you probably want to ensure that you're starting off a little bit slower than you may have otherwise been used to, right? So this happened to me whenever I first started playing online again, when I first started streaming online a while back. What would happen is I basically just loaded up, actually this was before I was even streaming, I was just playing a session. I basically loaded up all the games that were $100 buy-in and higher on all the sites I had access to, which ended up being like 24 tables. If you haven't played online poker, and seriously, and since I think January was the last time I played seriously when I was in England, you probably don't want to hop in and just straight up 24 table across various sites. It didn't go so well, right? I was timing out some, which is not ideal. I didn't have any of the settings set up on the sites. That was not ideal. It was a stupid mistake, right? I went too hard and too fast. Interestingly enough, I had a great session, won a bunch of money. So you have to make sure you don't even look at the results and think, oh, I won a bunch of money. Clearly I'm doing great. Realize, all right, this was not optimal. I need to figure out something slightly different. So, you move down to fewer tables and on fewer sites. But whenever you are getting back into poker after a break, start off slow. What happens to a lot of people is they just hop right back in at the same stakes they were used to playing, or perhaps even higher because they're ready to get their gamble on, or because they haven't played in a while and they think, okay, I haven't played in 3 months. I need to get back to making some money. How do I make money? Well, I played bigger. But that's not really ideal, right? Because you're probably a little bit rusty. So you want to make sure you're starting off slowly, and you want to make sure you're starting off for smaller stakes than normal. And I'm not saying go and play the small stakes games for forever. I'm saying go back to playing 75% or 50% of your normal average buy-in, and play fewer tables than normal. If you're normally used to playing 6 tables, maybe play 4 for your first session. And if that goes perfectly fine and well, then go back to 6. But if you see that you're struggling a little bit, taking a little bit, if you're having a hard time making quick decisions, recognize that, right? You have to be self-aware. Like I said, whenever I was playing all the tables at once across multiple sites, I was having a tough time keeping up, and it gets hectic. Whenever you can't keep up to the online poker, it gets really hectic. And I understand that for different people, that's a different number of tables, but you don't want to hop back in at the highest stakes. I mean, so many people, what happens is they take a break from poker, they decide to randomly play a satellite, they satellite into some 10K, and then they just go and play some $10,000 buy-in tournament with no experience, right? If you're going to go play $10,000 buy-in tournament because you satellite into it, and you're used to playing $100 games, well, you should make a point to go there and play a decent amount of other tournaments before then to make sure you're used to it. I tell everyone this who's coming from online poker. I teach a decent amount of very, very good online poker players. And whenever they're going to transition to live poker, I say, get some experience. You can't just expect to go play soft World Series events and crush them if you have no live experience. You got to get a little bit of experience, right? And if you don't do that, you're just going to be worse off than if you did spend a little bit of time getting experience. Any tips for tournaments for beginners? Go to pokercoaching.com/fundamentals. There's a whole course completely for free for you with lots of tips. Okay. All right. Let's see what all of you are saying here. Wait, there's no cream in your coffee? No, I drink coffee, not cream. This is not called a little cream with Jonathan Little. This is called a little coffee with Jonathan Little. And this is a small cup, as you can see, compared to my head. It's about, half the size of my head. So this is not a ton of coffee. It's just a little coffee. Maybe next week we'll do a little cream with Jonathan Little. It's hard to go from not playing online to going to the full Nanonoko. Believe it or not, it wasn't actually that hard. It just required me to understand that playing across multiple sites is difficult. It's actually not all that hard to play. For me, to play lots of games as long as it's on the same site and the same site functions properly. Like, there's a few sites out there that just freeze if you get more than, 10 tables going. So, obviously that doesn't work, right? But the issue is dealing with various interfaces. That's the hardest thing when it comes to playing multiple sites, at least for me. Everybody has their own problems. Your casino's only playing four-handed. You just don't like that. Well, Jason, if you're a profitable poker player, you should actually love playing short-handed, because when you're playing short-handed against weaker players, you get to play more hands against weaker players. Whenever you're playing nine-handed, you just have to fold a lot of the time. Like, if you're in the first 4 or 5 positions, you just have to fold a ton, right? So you'd rather not have to just sit there and waste your time folding in the first 4 or 5 positions. You would much rather play short-handed. Now, if you're a bad player, you really don't want to play short-handed, because then you're going to get demolished. But if you're a good player, you want to play short-handed. So that's a common misconception. A lot of people think, I don't want to have to play the bad hands. But if you play the bad hands better than your opponents play the bad hands, you're going to crush them. You lost some confidence, which hurt you. Yeah, confidence is an interesting thing. I think a lot of people think confidence matters a lot, and I think a lot of people think confidence is ridiculous. I tend to lean on the side of I think it's ridiculous. That said, I understand that I have done the work away from the table way more than most. Poker's not a game where you can fake it till you make it. That's not how it works in this world. And if you're trying to fake the idea that, I know what I'm doing, I'm confident and proud in my decisions, that doesn't really help you, right? It may allow you to make the play that you think is best, but I don't think confidence really has anything to do with that. That's just knowing that the work you did away from the table is valuable and accurate and good, right? So confidence is an interesting concept, but I do think there are some people who heavily rely on confidence. Some of the biggest winners in the game, if you talk to them, they are confident that they are the best poker player in the world and they know exactly what they're doing. And but they're not illogical, right? If you show them with math that, hey, you're doing something wrong, they're happy to fix it and change. So they're confident, but they're also not idiots, right? I think a lot of people who are confident, they associate that with almost cockiness and brashness. But some people who are confident are also cocky and brash. But I don't think that that's how most of the biggest winners are. So confidence is this interesting idea that I certainly am not I'm not fully well versed in, because I just think it doesn't matter all that much. Study a lot, know what you're doing, go implement the strategy, and you will crush. Zoom or regular tables, which is better? Well, you have a way lower win rate on Zoom tables / fast tables, etc. Is that a liter of coffee? No, this is a small cup of coffee. All right. Am I a New York City native? No, I'm from Pensacola, Florida. But I live in New York City now. Having a hard time being results-oriented. Recently moved after crushing the lower stakes. You feel that each flip, you know you're going to lose. Well, understand that if you know you're going to lose, it means that you don't understand math. Also, why would you check your results? It doesn't matter. You're focusing on things that don't matter, Noel. The idea of, I got it all in, I'm going to lose again. It's essentially a sign of a lack of experience doing what you are doing. And it's a pure math game, man. You get it in flipping, you're 50-50 to win and lose. It's just as simple as that. And that, how can you get out of that mindset? The thing is, what happens to a lot of people is they try to parlay everything, right? You see this with sports bettors all the time, where they will start off betting, let's say $100 a game. They win a few $100 a game bets, and then they move up to the higher stakes. They'll say they want to bet $300 a game. Maybe they even win a few there. So now they've on these 50-50 shots, they've just happened to win 80% of them. So now they turn $100 into $1,500. Might as well blast it all on Monday Night Football tonight. Some teams are playing, I might as well bet on one of them. Then they just put all of it on $1,500 and they lose. Oh my God, how can I lose? I was 80% before this. But they don't realize they're actually just 50-50 bettors, and they finally lost one, right? So you got to put in volume. Volume cures variance at the end of the day. And it sounds like if you're just very sporadically playing the higher stakes, you're going to feel the full brunt force of variance. This happens to tournament players too, where they will normally play, let's say $100 or let's say $50 games, but on the weekends they play the $200 big tournaments like Sunday Million or whatever these phase tournaments are they have, and they don't win them. They're like, oh my god, I played 10 tournaments this Sunday, I lost $2,000. That's going to take me 4 days to grind back in my normal game. It's like, yeah, you were playing too high and you weren't playing very good volume. You played 8 tournaments or 10 tournaments or whatever, and that's that. Global Poker won't pay you out. I have no contacts at Global Poker. I don't know the optimal strategy if you are not getting paid out on that site, because I've never tried to cash out from the site, except for back in the day when they had PayPal cash outs. I don't know. Figure out why they won't pay you. I don't know. Did Randy Lou take a break from poker? I don't know. Ask him on Twitter. I'm sure he'll talk to you. What adjustments should you make for deep stack cash with no rake? Play more hands, especially in position. This is not asking anything, everyone. Today we're talking about how to get back in poker after taking a break. How should you play if you have a huge stack in poker? In a poker tournament? Normally. Play good, fundamentally sound poker. What kind of HUDs do you want? Go to go to pokercoaching.com/HUD. Best casino in Florida? There are a few good ones that I enjoy, but I don't know the best because I'm not playing there on a regular basis. Difference between range and nut advantage. Goodness gracious, you all are just firing off a bunch of random questions. Whenever we have Ask Me Anythings, the title of the video will be Ask Me Anything. Range advantage is how your whole range compares against your opponent's whole range. Nut advantage is which person's range has more combinations of nut hands, which is not necessarily the same. Like under the gun raises, big blind calls on 6-6-2. Under the gun has a nut advantage because they have aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, nines, ace, king, ace, queen, right? Whereas big blind does not have the nut advantage because they have a whole lot of 9-8 offsuit. But big blind also has a whole lot of 6x, whereas under the gun has almost no 6x. So there, under the gun has a big range advantage, but the big blind has the big nut advantage. So that's the difference in those things. We discussed this thoroughly in pokercoaching.com. I think I even discussed it in the fundamentals because it's a pretty fundamental concept. Poker coaching helped you build a bankroll. Good job, good work. You want $750 playing 1-2. Nice job. Do I play underground games in New York? I do not. You're welcome for the cameo. Are there any things you remember to remember when you're reviewing hands by yourself? You really just want to find spots where you don't like your play or where your play is questionable and then consider it. Fernando says you could have won $228K if not for losing aces to twos. Ugh, brutal. Louis Philippe streamed it with you. Awesome, good job. How far is it for me to drive to play live poker? I don't drive to play live poker. I mean, I guess I'll go to Atlantic City every once in a while. That's like an hour and a half away. What works better, playing fewer tables for more money or more tables for smaller money? I mean, look, at the end of the day, I don't think the number of tables you play should really impact the buy-in level that you play at those tables. Because all playing more tables does just let you get in more volume, right? To some extent. I understand you can have a higher ROI as you play fewer tables, but I don't really think the idea of I'm going to play fewer tables for more money makes sense because that just really jacks up the variance. So playing more tables just lets you get to the long run faster at perhaps a slightly lower win rate. Okay. We're getting back into poker. We took some time off. Now, what do? Well, we probably want to keep a checklist of things that we need to make sure that we need to remember to do that we know we have a propensity to forget. So, what are some things that you know that you have problems with? I just wrote down a list of stuff here that could be totally random. Some of you probably do this great, some of you probably don't. But, stack size. Are you thinking in terms of dollars or chips, or are you thinking in terms of big blinds? Always you want to be thinking in terms of big blinds. You don't want to be thinking in terms of dollars, right? A lot of people find themselves on the river, oh, this is a $400 bet. Well, you don't really need to be worried about that at all. You need to be thinking this is X number of big blinds, right? Okay, next, you want to make sure you're aware of positions. Positions are very important. Positions impact all sorts of things in poker. You want to make sure you're using good, fundamentally sound pre-flop ranges, right? We have the Poker Coaching app where you can use that at the poker table. We have downloadable charts at pokercoaching.com, so make sure you get that. The action before you. Some people are oblivious to the action before them. You want to make sure you care about that. These are all like very basic things. Bet sizing. Bet sizing is something a lot of people screw up because they just get in the habit of half potting it or 2/3 potting it or whatever. But in reality, you want to be betting based on how your range fares against your opponent. If you're a cash game player, check out the Cash Game Masterclass at pokercoaching.com/premium. There we have a big discussion on when to bet and how much. And that is very, 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 very important, right? Need to be considering geometric bet sizing, how to make sure you get your stack in by the river if you want to get it in by the river, and also how to not get it in by the river if you don't want to get it in by the river. So you always want to be considering that. You want to be considering your opponents, right? A lot of people just completely ignore their opponents, especially in key scenarios where, like, let's say you're against someone who's very tight, and you remember they're tight pre-flop, so you don't re-raise your ace-jack or whatever. Your ace-jack suited, you just call, you see the flop, and it comes to ace-high. They bet the flop, bet the turn, jam the river, and by the river, you're like, oh, top pair, call, right? But you forget the fact that this player is weak and tight, and they're only putting their money in with the nuts, right? So anyway, that's that. You want to make sure that you are thinking about all these things that you may forget. I know that in the past, I would be a little bit too call happy from the button. I would not 3-bet quite enough, especially with the marginal suited connected type stuff. But so what did I do? Carried around a notepad with a few things to consider on them, and one of them was make sure you are using good, fundamentally sound strategies, right, and adjusting them accordingly. So make sure you do that. So you want to make sure that you keep track of the things that typically give you problems, and then adjust accordingly. You're good enough to be a pro live player, but you don't know where to play near New York City. Oh, you made mistake number one. You lived in New York City. This is not a good place to play poker. This is not a good poker playing town. I live here because my wife lives here. It's important to live where your job is legal and allowed. If your job is not legal and allowed where you live, you're probably not in the right place. This is a common question I get, and I don't like answering this question, but I'll do it again. Should you cash out when you win a certain amount? You should cash out when you're tired of playing or when the game is no longer good. Now, to be fair, you may be really good at playing 100 big blind poker, but perhaps really bad at playing 300 big blind poker. Or maybe you get tired after playing for a few hours, or maybe you start playing too many hands after playing a few hours, or maybe you just get it all in with top pair, no problem every time. And, that's not so terrible 100 big blinds deep, but it's terrible 300 big blinds deep. So, maybe you're just making big errors. But no, you should not quit from a game that's good because you want a little bit of money. You do not want to worry about such a thing, is what it amounts to. I mean, you're going to have big swings. You have to understand, when you're playing three stacks deep instead of one stack deep, it feels worse, right? So whenever you lose. But if your game is good, realize that every hand you're dealt in, you win or lose some amount of money, and you win money whenever you're the favorite in those games, right? Do I have any experience on playing on random site Bet Online? Very little. They seem to have better software than ACR. They seem to have less volume than ACR. So seems like a good site to play on if you play small stakes games, maybe medium stakes games. Probably not a great site for high stakes games. But, I mean, it's nice that their software functions properly. That sure is good. In the 2000s, we thought we should be driven by position. Well, I don't know who thought that. When did that change? I don't know. You probably just read a book from back in the day by someone who didn't know what they were doing. I know the book you're probably referencing, and no one who was a strong player necessarily thought this. That said, it doesn't really matter all that much what you do pre-flop as long as you're very consistent with it, and it makes sense based on your pre-flop ranges. If we have an average stack at the final table, is it better to play aggressive or tight? It depends on your scenario. Depends on the spot. This is not a good question at all, because you're missing all sorts of key information. If you're a middle stack at a final table and there are 3 people with 2 big blinds, you should play really, 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 really tight. Really tight. Right? But if you're a middle stack at the final table and everyone has a middle stack, you should probably be in there banging pretty hard. How do you start to become a professional poker player? Do it as a hobby. If you can make money with it as a hobby, and make a lot of money, then you're going to crush it. Just take your hobby and ramp it up. Poker is great in that you do not have to do anything to become a pro besides win money consistently. So if you can play on the weekends and win decent money consistently, maybe try playing a little bit more and a little bit more. I started with $50 back in the day while I was going to college and working 2 jobs. But eventually got rid of one of the jobs, got rid of the other job, got rid of college, right? You cut out the things that are least relevant in your life to make more room for the things you want to do. Are you playing on Bovada Ignition? Not yet. They sure are taking their time getting me set up. I submitted what they ask me to submit, and they're taking their time. All right. The Poker Matrix sending some interesting emoticons. Hello, welcome, good morning. All right, whenever you are getting back into poker, it's very important to make sure you don't get discouraged when things go poorly, because inevitably things are going to go poorly sometimes, right? Your first experience, maybe going back, you sit down with 100 big blinds, let's say you get stacked, you're like, oh, this is annoying. Also, maybe you get stacked, you build it back up to 4 starting stacks, then you get stacked for that whole 4 starting stack, and you're like, oh, now I'm down 2 buy-ins, this is terrible. I had all the money, I should have cashed out. Like all these asinine thought processes start going through your mind. And you want to make sure that that does not happen to you. And if it does, realize that that's okay, right? You're going to have swings, and that is standard and normal and good. And especially when you're getting back to something after not doing it in a while, you're going to make mistakes. So when you make mistakes, write them down and figure out a way to fix them. I mean, going back to me, when I first started playing online again, after not playing for like 6 months, I played too many tables at a time. So what did I do? I wrote myself a note, don't play the low value sites, right? And that alone cleared the problem up. And then the next week when I played, I didn't play the low value sites, and I didn't have any problems, right? Because I made a mistake, it probably cost me some money, and I learned, right? And that is important. You want to make sure that you are not so egotistical to the fact that you cannot admit that you messed up, that you were wrong, and that you screwed up, right? So make sure you're doing that. If you find yourself making misclicks when you're playing online, right? Figure out why. This happened to me on a site I was playing on because I couldn't tell when people were in hands. It was on ACR, and the cards were black, and the table was black. And so you couldn't see anything. It was a mess. And the defaults on that site are a mess. So you have to change them. I had to make the cards very, 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 very bright yellow. And you want to make sure that you do things that make it to where you can't really mess up as often. For example, playing with big blinds instead of chips, right? If you're playing with chips, you may randomly type an extra 0 or something like that. And that's a problem. That's a problem. So make sure that you understand that what's going on. Sean, I see you're typing me a whole bunch of math here. I can't read this right now. Send me an email, support@pokercoaching.com. If we had an error, I would love to see it. I'd love to fix it. Speaking of books, whenever you write a book, inevitably, things are not going to be 100% perfect on the very first draft. We do our best. I have a new book out. Here it is. Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games. I already found one mistake where I left off a suit image. I said the board is like Jack of Spades, 3 of Spades, 2. Got to have the 2 of clubs or whatever it was. Not that it really matters all that much. I'm sure there's going to be some other errors in this book. Thank you for pointing them out, Sean. Send me an email, support@pokercoaching.com if there are. Check out this book, Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games. jlpoker.com/tough. Is random limit in this book? No, I don't know. I'll have to check. I'll see. Maybe a chapter got added last second that I'm unaware of. But anyway, check out this book. If you enjoy it, by the way, leave a review on Amazon, Goodreads, wherever you leave reviews. You can get this book at jlpoker.com/tough. Has chapters by some of the absolute best players in the world. Here's one. Draft Ganger, Bert Stevens, as you see him right here. This is Ape Styles, John Van Fleet, biggest winner online, I think, in tournaments. Here we have Draft Ganger, also up there. He was the #1 player in the year just recently. He's been streaming for Poker Coaching Premium members, so if you're a Poker Coaching Premium member, do not miss out on his streams. They are amazing. Last week he was streaming $2,000 buy-in PKO tournaments and $5,000 buy-in regular tournaments for all of you. So make sure you check that out. But yeah, you can get it at jlpoker.com/tough. Lots and lots of Pio charts, Munker charts. Does Natty Wit have a chapter? Yeah, Natty Wit has the chapter right down here. This is Natty Wit. Natty Wit is in the stream today, and Natty wanted a chapter, so I gave him a chapter in the book. Anyway, good stuff. Talks about variance, talks about bluffing, talks about final table play, talks about PKO tournaments. There's a great chapter, PKO tournaments by Cavalito. I'm sorry, I forgot I'm not allowed to joke on my streams. Natty Wit does not have a chapter in the book, and Randall Emmett does not have a chapter in the book. If you thought that was serious, I apologize. I forgot for just a split second. We are not allowed to joke on the internet anymore. Because if you make a 5-second clip of you saying anything, people are going to clip that and say that that is what you think is definitively true. And they'll use that to try to slander you. So I apologize for the jokes. I forgot we're not allowed to joke on the internet anymore. Every time you joke on the internet, you get maximally punished. Actually, the funny thing is, if anyone, I'm going to tell you all a little trick about the internet. If you see a 5-second clip of anything, and you think that is the truth, definitively, you're a fish. And you probably deserve to stay ignorant. Because if you cannot do just a little bit of research, a little bit of looking around, you can look at the table of contents and see that Randall Emmett does not have a chapter in my book, for example. And neither does Natty Wit. If you cannot do just a little bit of research, you're making a big error. Kevin, your comment. Number one in caches is not the number one in profits. There's a big difference between caches and profits in tournaments, by the way. A lot of people have a lot of caches. And interestingly enough, if you look at a lot of people on the biggest leaderboards, they're not actually profitable. If you look at the top 10 on Pocket Fives at any given point in time, probably 4 of them are unprofitable for the year. Despite having, millions of dollars in caches. It's cool stuff. Anyway, if you look at little snippets and think that that is definitive truth, you're a fish and you should be ignored by anyone who has half of a brain. That said, you have to make sure you try to help people. A lot of people out there, they don't realize that they are ignorant, and so you have to try to help them, right? People are going to make mistakes. I was plenty ignorant back in the day, but people were happy to help me. People were happy to show me how I was young and dumb and stupid, and they were right. And I learned, right? You have to make sure that you learn. There's a chapter by Alex Carr. He is the main owner and head manager at Pokar. His chapter is on getting 1% better every day. And there's a lot of good stuff in there, just like a lot of little things. The thing I just told you, don't look at 5-second clips and think it's the definitive truth, would be a logical, good, nice, easy thing that could have gone in the chapter. But it's like you want to make sure you're always improving. And if you consistently improve, you're going to crush it. And if you don't consistently improve, and if you just consistently make errors and make mistakes, you're not going to improve, right? So you want to make sure that you are consistently improving. Yeah, Natty, whenever you're ready to submit the chapter, I'll use it as a bonus chapter. So let me know what you want to write on. You can submit it, and we'll do that. Okay. Ignition, close your account because of your location. Yeah, sure, you can clear the websites have made it clear they can close your poker accounts for any reason. Okay? Okay? Make sure that you fully understand the rules and regulations of the sites, and also understand that even if you have read the rules and regulations of a site, they don't matter, because the sites say somewhere they can do whatever they like. Right? Like if you joke, banned. If you say the site's not as safe as a bank, banned. Anyway, we're not going to go on about this. I really don't have a chip on my shoulder about it. It's actually just kind of, it's kind of sad, really, that you can no longer say jokes, that people on the internet are still so dense to the point that they think 5-second clips are the definitive truth. It's like, you've been on social media more than 3 minutes, right? You know that whenever you watch a 5-second video, it doesn't say anything. Welcome to 2020. It seems to be accurate. I would definitely recommend, if those are the people you hang out with, though, you should essentially distance yourself from people like this, because people like this are just trying to bring people down and better themselves, period. And they don't care about you or anyone else. And if someone does not care about you or anyone else, those are probably not people you want in your life. You want to surround yourself by people who are trying to better the world, better those around them, and also add value and not detract, right? And to be fair, I understand that certainly saying things like unlicensed, unregulated sites that operate illegally in America are not as safe as a bank detracts from those sites, right? So I get it. You can view that as me trying to tear those sites down, even though in reality I'm not. I'm just trying to protect my students, right? That's the thing, is that I'm not loyal to random poker sites that operate illegally in America. I'm loyal to my fans and my students, right? And that's something a lot of people just don't understand. They think it's all about you, right? So what would purely poker player Jonathan Little care about? If Jonathan Little was a malicious poker player, what would I do? I would tell you all to take your money, put it on these illegal gambling sites, because I know you may have a difficult time cashing out. Notice I said may, I didn't say you would. 2 people here so far have said that you've had problems. And I would tell you to play high-stakes games. I'd tell you to satellite into the $2,500 buy-in tournaments every time they have them. I would tell you to try to get rich. Basically, I would tell you everything I possibly could to try to get you to play in games that you have a big disadvantage. And if you pay attention, that's what a lot of the people who promote these sites are telling you to do. They are telling you to load all of your money in because it's as safe as a bank. And they're telling you to play high stakes against them. Right? Why do you think they're doing that? They're doing that because they know you're going to lose to them, and they're trying to take your money. Nothing wrong with that. Poker players, at the end of the day, it is a zero-sum game minus the rake to some extent, right? So these people are being paid by the site to tell you to come and lose their money to them. It's like, it makes perfect sense, because if someone's going to pay me to tell me to do something that's good for me anyway, sure, it's going to hurt all my fans, but, they don't care about their fans. Then why not? It's the logical thing to do if you actually think through it. And you want to make sure that whenever you are listening to someone, understand that at the end of the day, they're not out to make the best decision possible for you, right? They are out to make the best decision possible for them. And if they can trick some of the random people on the internet who they've never met and they're never going to meet to give them money, they're going to. And the thing is like, whenever you're in any business, poker playing, educational poker coaching, etc., your goal is to make money from it to some extent at the end of the day. Now, obviously, people can have passion projects like, charity work or educational work, stuff that you do for free, whatever. But you have to follow the money to some extent. For example, why does Jonathan Little spend all this time making this book, writing this book, promoting this book? You think I'd do it completely for free? Well, actually I would have, because I learned a lot from this. But I'm going to make some money from this book. How much money? I don't know. Probably not a ton, because I know I don't actually make a ton of money from books. I make a lot of money when people sign up for my training site, because the overhead is relatively low. Do you know how much it costs to print this book? This is not cheap to make. Apparently, you have to destroy the rainforest or something to make these books. That's not true. That's a joke. I want to say that immediately. But I think books are expensive. And I don't make much money off this. I do this because I want to help the community, and I want to help people to some extent. But I sit down, I work for 500 hours, and make a little bit of money out the door. But anyway, follow the money and don't be an idiot. Is that good advice for today? You want to not be an idiot? Join the poker coaching study session right on Discord right after this. Is the tournament course coming along? Ooh, it is. We're about halfway through the river. Once we get the river section up, we're going to load up a lot of it. Someone crop out in the last 5 seconds, yeah. Do we sell this golf shirt? No, but we do have some poker coaching merchandise coming soon. Well, I go over a hand from last night. Type it all in a chat. By the way, if you're a poker coaching premium member, we're going to be reviewing some of your hands in the near future. So make sure you send those in. We sent you an email about it if you're a poker coaching premium member. Yeah, you have a study session right after a little coffee. Congrats. ACR keeps coming up. Why? I don't know. It keeps getting mentioned. To be fair, I like to make jokes, and I have to remember that you're not allowed to make jokes anymore. You learned a lot from the Mike Sexton interview. Great. Yeah. You learned how important it is to stay in the action. It is very important to stay in the action. A lot of people think that the goal is either get rich or be broke, but if you're broke, you can't make money from playing poker. It's a terrible world where you have to say it's a joke after every joke. Well, it's 2020. How often do we do private coaching sessions? How often do I do private coaching sessions? I don't know. 7 times a week, 8 times a week, give or take. I don't know. Poker Coaching Premium is great. I'm glad to hear it. You've watched the Cash Game Masterclass 5 times. Congrats. JL just skips over your question. Ha ha ha. Well, type it again. Maybe I'll reply to it. Unfortunately, Fernando, I would love to, but I am packed with time. Packed with time. I'm packed with a lack of time. My schedule is jammed. I don't know what's happened, but like since COVID's happened, literally Monday to Friday, for 10 hours straight, from like 10 a.m. till 7 or 8 p.m., I am just jammed. I don't know why. There's so much going on. How's there so much going on? I mean, to be fair, this book took a lot of work. I already finished my next book, basically. The first draft is out of my hands into the publisher's hands, so that's good. That'll be available at the World Series of Poker next year, if there is a World Series of Poker. So that took up a lot of time. So finishing this book, I mean, look, this is not a simple, easy book. This took a lot of my time. That book took a lot of my time. This tournament class has taken a lot of my time. Our team has expanded. We're up to, well, whatever. We have more employees, more coaches. It's just a lot of work. I write more books than play poker. How many sessions does it take to write a book? When are you playing? Sundays. Actually, this week I played Saturday because my wife didn't have someone to help her with their kids on Sunday. I typically don't play poker if my wife has to watch the kids by herself. What's my opinion on Brazilians when they get high and eat steak and play? I love Brazilian steakhouses. They are very, very good. They have lots of good meat, lots of good vegetables. Ooh, it's fantastic. Where's the Discord channel? If you go to pokercoaching.com, sign in, go down to the community tab, and check that out. It should be there. Churrascaria. Okay. I'm going to have to churrascaria to the Brazilian steakhouse and eat some Brazilian steak whenever it opens. Well, there'll be an audio version of excelling. Yes, I have to go to the recording studio at least 4 times over the next month. We'll record it and get it out there. That Brazilian steak is wild. I know that. Whenever you're playing high stakes against Brazilians, whoo, you better hold on to your seat. Do I think the cash game course or the fundamentals course will help you beat the small stakes? So look, the fundamentals course is just the basics, in my opinion. Is it going to make you a good, strong, world-class player? No, but it's going to give you the framework such that you can make use of everything that I have available at pokercoaching.com, which is a ton of work. I mean, it's completely free. I mean, again, like stuff like this, right? It's free because, again, you have to ask, why would Jonathan Little spend multiple hours and multiple hours of his employee's time making this fundamentals course if it's free? Because I know that it's going to help you. And whenever I help you get good at poker, whenever you want to learn more about poker, you're going to go to my site, pokercoaching.com, pay me a little bit of money, and learn there. I know that's how this kind of thing works, right? You add immense value, and then people are willing to give you some of that back. So what is the fundamentals course worth? I don't know what it's worth. Doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, my business is going great. Things are going fantastically well. And I know that whenever you add a lot of value, people are happy to give some of that back to you at the end of the day. It's really what it amounts to. A lot of poker players think that their goal is to take value, extract value. But if you give a ton, you will get some of that back, assuming you continuously add value. Now, if you just give some one time and then stop, you're just not going to work so well for you. But if you continuously give, whenever you do ask for something, like when I say, go sign up for poker coaching, some of you will. Whenever I say, check out this book, you're going to learn a lot from this. And also, leave a review. Please leave a review. Find this book on Amazon, Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games, or any of the books you've read of mine. Leave a review. I would appreciate it. That kind of thing's nice and helpful. When I say click like, some of you click the like button. That's helpful. And it's because you appreciate the work that I do for all of you, right? What do you consider the basics? Diane, please go to pokercoaching.com/fundamentals. The course is literally right there. It takes you probably 8 seconds to get into it. 8 seconds. You'll have all these answers. Which course do you take for mid-stakes? Check out the Cash Game Masterclass if you have not already. That's in pokercoaching.com/premium. I think that would be very well suited for you, given I know you're playing cash games. And the games you are playing seems like exactly the games that course teaches you to crush. JL quote of the day, don't be an idiot. Yep. Yep. Also, don't consume things from idiots. I think a lot of people... I mean, someone said this to me on Twitter the other day. Yeah, I follow these people who say stupid things because it's entertainment. But, like, is that really the entertainment that you want? This? You need my keys? Here you go. Bye. Like, is that really the entertainment that you want in your life? Is nonsense? I would tell you, get the nonsense out of your life. I mean, look, I've done plenty of things that weren't necessarily even like bad or detrimental that I've had to cut out of my life as they became less of a priority. Like Magic the Gathering is a great example of this. I love playing Magic the Gathering, but I just don't have time. And that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. So, even though I liked it and it didn't necessarily add a ton of value, it's just like fun to do, but wasn't building up my life or anything. And I mean, like now I'm just sitting over here looking at this. I have a bunch of books on economics and marketing and business and startups, right? Because that kind of thing, even if I don't like it quite as much as goofing off and playing Magic the Gathering, it's going to be way more beneficial to my life to understand how to make good decisions to help all of you better and to help myself better, right? So, you need to upgrade your entertainment. That's exactly right. And I think a lot of people's entertainment is browsing nonsense on Twitter and then replying to it with nonsensical comments. And you're wasting your life. Don't waste your life. Do I play chess? I used to play a lot of chess. Chess was first game I played, I guess call it seriously. It wasn't really seriously. Me and one other kid were the best chess players in my middle school. His name was Prabhu. Prabhu introduced me to Magic the Gathering, which was a whole lot more fun. So we started playing Magic the Gathering for the most part after that. Then I played a lot of like speed chess in high school when I was a kid on, I think it was on Pogo.com and Yahoo.com. Does that sound right? I was decent at the speed chess, but I never like played live chess tournaments or anything like that. It seemed like a lot of effort. Keith, if you order the book on D&B and you haven't got it yet, send them an email. You should get it shortly. Do I have any material on deep stack tournament poker? There's a whole lot of that on pokercoaching.com. Just do a quick search. It'll come right up. Robert says, you traded Magic for poker. Well, good luck. Hope it's going well. Where am I playing consistently now? I'm not playing consistently now online. We play 1 day per week. I try to play a lot of volume 1 day per week. Because it just does not fit with life. I mean, again, going back to priorities, right? What is my priority? Is it to sit in front of my computer and play poker all day? Or is it to play with my kids? Right? You have to ask, like, what am I trying to accomplish? Did I see random people's videos on the internet? No, I don't have time watching nonsense. We've already discussed this. I just went through this whole thing. I don't have time for nonsense. People are allowed to say and do whatever they like. A lot of people create good, funny, nonsensical content. But that is not for me or for people who are trying to improve at as fast of a rate as possible. Do you think you can remain sharp at poker playing only 1 day per week? Yes, absolutely. Especially if you're spending the other 5 days working on things pertaining to poker and learning and studying from literally the best poker players in the world. I think you don't understand that when I play 1 day per week, that is purely me just implementing the system that I'm already aware that I need to be doing. And I work hard at getting better on poker the rest of the week. I mean, at this point, my job is to study poker as much as I can and then deliver that knowledge that I learn to all of you, right? That is my job here. Because, like, look, I'm not some sort of, like, poker genius, and I realize that, right? Everything I've learned from poker is things that other people have discovered, and I consolidate the information to some extent and give it to you in a way that's actually understandable, because the way a lot of poker players talk is not understandable to the non-world-class pro at all, right? And, certainly when I'm out there studying, I'm not just, like, straight ripping off people's content like I've seen some people try to do with mine. But, you got to study, you got to work. You got to work hard, and that is what I spend most of my time doing. So anyway, excelling at tough no limit hold'em games. All of this content here, besides my few chapters, were purely, for the most part, the work of these other authors, right? They gave me the content. It was my job to present it in a manner that is easy to understand. So anyway, check it out, jlpoker.com/stuff. Please leave a review. I would appreciate it. How many women did you date before finding the love of your life? I don't know if I found her yet. That's a joke. Ha ha. Can't joke like that, everyone. How many people have I dated? I don't know. Let's think about this. Are we counting like people in elementary school, middle school? Let's try to count all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8? 8 or 9? Is that right? Not very experienced, huh? All right, let's see. You think I could have made more money playing poker or coaching poker? So look, I realized a long time ago that poker is a slowly declining game. If you look at basically every metric, poker has slowly declined over time. I don't think there is a huge future in very, very high stakes poker. There may be though, I could be wrong about this. But I knew I wanted to make some sort of business so I could stay home with my family in New York City. We already discussed how New York City is not a great poker playing city already. And that meant I had to do something else, right? And also I didn't want to be like traveling and sitting there and playing poker all day, every day. That wasn't the goal. That was not the goal of my life. I want to try to help people and better people. And you do that, well, by not sitting in front of your computer and playing poker all day, every day. Miguel says, you just finished that book, probably the best one you've ever read, and you've read nearly all of them. Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear it. Go leave a review for me. I would appreciate it. Chris Moneymaker said he'd rather be working at McDonald's than trying to be a poker pro these days. Yeah. To be fair, I've worked at McDonald's, and I can tell you I'd rather be a poker player than working at McDonald's. That said, I didn't mind working at McDonald's, right? Show up, do your job, do good work, you won't have any problems. Say why. By the end of November. When will the tournament class be available? If it's not available by the end of November, something's gone horribly wrong. Something will have gone horribly wrong if it's not available by then. That said, it probably won't be available by then now that I've said that. Is this book good for micro stakes players? No. This book is good for people who want to learn content from the absolute best poker players in the world. If you're looking for a micro stakes guide, check out Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em, jlpoker.com/mastering. Okay? Should I make an account with a different name on a different WPN skin? No. If someone doesn't want me in their house, I don't want to go to their house. I think a lot of people think that poker is all about breaking the rules and trying to basically not do what other people want you to do. But no, if someone tells me they don't want me playing on their site, fine, I can respect that, right? It's okay. I don't mind. There's plenty of other places to play. So it's like, it's whatever. If someone tells you they don't want you doing something, be respectful and don't do it. That's simple. A good example of this is I was calling their paid, sponsored, representative players shills. Some of them made it clear they don't like that term. They think that term is derogatory. I didn't know that term was derogatory. I was ignorant about this. But, so what do? Stop calling the shills shills. Call them paid, sponsored players. And that's okay, right? I have no problem using whatever term they want me to use when referencing them, right? And if the person in charge of the site says don't play on our site, I'm not going to try to get around the rules to play on that person's site, right? I'm not trying to cause problems here. I think a lot of people think I'm trying to cause problems, but I really don't want problems or issues with anyone. You all know me, right? If you're in this show, you know me better than basically everybody else who's talking to nonsense on the internet. I'm trying to help and build up the poker community. And if someone says they don't like something I'm doing and I could be in the wrong, like, I don't want to be called a shill because even though I take money from a site that operates illegally, I think better of myself. Fine. No problem. I'm not trying to offend people here. I'm not trying to cause nonsense. Let's see. Robert, if you have any questions, send us an email, support@pokercoaching.com. Do you think you'll play more poker after your kids are grown up? Probably. Almost certainly. Where can you get this book? jlpoker.com/tough, TOUGH, or you can get it on Amazon. It's on Amazon too. All right. Lots and lots of questions. Any articles, videos on late-stage tournament play? A whole lot. PokerCoaching.com. Tax advice for players in America. Find a tax expert who's good at gambling taxes. My person in charge of my taxes is Teresa Fox of Fox and Associates. They've always done great by me. You'll have to pay more than $750 a year probably, but they've always done great by me. You like the Big Blind Defense section by Ape Styles? Yeah. He breaks down lots of scenarios so that you learn how to play that scenario well. Alizona says, you're more than the best poker coach. You meant such terrific advice in general. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right. You've heard poor people from Brazilian poker to make a living, so you're asking yourself, is it true? Why don't we see more people from poorer countries in poker? So look, I don't know anything about the finances and GDP of Brazil, but I do know in a lot of places where the normal income amount is not all that high, if you can find something you're good at and make even like $10 an hour, that's substantial money. This is talked about sometimes in Magic the Gathering, where you can make $10 per hour playing Magic the Gathering online, and there are a decent amount of people from countries that don't have substantial incomes who are thrilled to make $10 an hour playing a card game from home. That said, like if you are starting with very little money, it is harder to make it to the very top than if you are starting with a lot more money, right? Like when I first started, I had $50 to put into poker. That's more than a lot of people in some countries make in a month, right? And like even though $50 did not sound like a ton of money to young Jonathan Little, that actually is substantial money compared to others. And if you're starting with, 10 times as much money as someone, substantially easier to make it. All right. Is excelling focused on exploitative play? Definitely. It focuses on all sorts of stuff. This is each author here wrote their own chapters in this book. I consolidated this information and made it beautiful. Okay? So understand, I did not sit here and write this whole thing. I mean, to be fair, I edited the whole thing and rewrote the whole thing multiple times. But they provided all of the information. And if you've read the other book, Selling at No Limit Hold'em, it's similar. This is each of these chapters. See all these chapters going down the side? Each of these chapters is on a different subject. This is not supposed to be a concise guide on poker. If you want something like that, get Mastering Small Stakes No Limit Hold'em. All right. How did the guy who was using a real-time solver get busted if he was using a different computer? Someone made a video of him doing it. Someone stood like right here, filmed a video of him right here with his laptop over here using it. Also, I will say that I know that the main poker sites are well aware if you're playing GTO or close to GTO. They keep track of every action you make. They can run it through their own solver. And if they run it through their own solver, then they'll know if you're playing roughly GTO. And that's how a lot of bots get caught, is they see a bot using perfect GTO strategy. And then the question becomes like, what if you just play good perfect GTO? Is that actually out of line? It's a tough question. I don't know. Someone called you a bad word for winning. You just had to laugh at them and take it. Why do women have to deal with this in poker? I don't know the answer to that. Men are idiots for the most part. I think that's a lot of the answer. I think a lot of men in general, not a lot, some men in general, view poker as their space because it's their boys' club or something. And whenever someone different encroaches on their boys' club, they get offended. And when they get offended, they lash out and do dumb things. Why do they do this? Well, because they're idiots. They're acting like they're acting like an animal that is not fully evolved, is what it amounts to. So why do they do this? I don't have a great answer for you, but it is very unfortunate that all sorts of minorities have to deal with nonsense when it comes to getting into poker or any other game that is mostly populated by a different demographic, right? So anyway, there are companies like Poker Brazil. Yeah, speaking of poker, all these coaches here, all these authors are part of the Poker backing company, myself included. So definitely check them out. They have a Latin America division. They have a Russian division. It's great. All right. Classic small world mindset happens in all walks of life, sports, etc. Yeah, it does. Anytime you are not in the majority in a lot of things, it will be tougher for you to get in that than if you are in the majority. And it's just unfortunate. Like some people are lucky enough to be in the scenarios like that. I don't know. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing because like I realize I've been immensely privileged, right? Like we talk about how a lot of people start with less than $50. And when you're starting with literally 10 cents or whatever, or $10 or $5, it's hard, right? I realized that, I'm a white man. I didn't pick to be a white man, but I'm a white man. And in some places, that's lucky, right? And you have to realize when you have been lucky, and you have to make sure you try to help the people who have not been quite so lucky. I've been lucky in that I got into poker at exactly the right time, right? People who were born between like roughly 82 and 87, 1982, 1987, were in the perfect time to capitalize on the poker boom because they were out of high school, so they weren't busy with that all day. They did not have a career yet, and most of them didn't have a family yet. So that gave us plenty of time to do exactly the right things, right? That you need to do to succeed at poker, which means sit down, study a ton, and grind all day, every day. And I was fortunate to be in that scenario. It was just like pure luck. If I was getting into poker today, I would not, probably would not have nearly the same success I do today because I would not be in the right place at the right time to some extent. I mean, you see this happening in a lot of places, right? You have to be both talented, willing to work hard, and in the right place at the right time to succeed immensely at most things in life. That doesn't mean you still can't succeed, but it's going to be tougher than if you were not in the right place at the right time. All right, I have to go now. It's been an hour. Hope you all have a great day. Again, check out Excelling at Tough No Limit Hold'em Games, jlpoker.com/tough. If you enjoyed it, even if you didn't enjoy it, leave a review. I would appreciate it. Like I said, if you find any errors, typos, etc., send me an email, support@pokercoaching.com. This is the first edition of this book. Turns out when you make a 500-page book, actually how many pages is it? I'm sorry, it's not 500, it's 400 something. 414-page book. There's going to be a little bit of typos. So anyway, check that out. Help me out. Let us all improve together. Good luck in your games. Have fun. As we said in the show, quote of the day, don't be an idiot. When will it be on Audible? When I've finished making it on Audible. Turns out I have to go sit in a little booth about a third the size of this room, which is not big, and I have to read the whole book multiple times. That's what I get to do for all of you for the next, over the course of the next month. And for that experience, I have to pay a bunch of money. Oh, the world we live in. I get to pay a bunch of money to sit in a booth and read a book so that hopefully some of you get it. Fun times, fun times. Have a great day. Thanks for being here. Good luck in your games. Be nice to someone. Try to build up the world. And we'll be out of 2020 soon.